welcome to Flash Friday, the reboot version, because there's just reasons why it's a reboot, which I will not go into unless you ask me personally. On Facebook, on Twitter, on Skype, or on Affinity. And I will answer those privately. For this podcast, we're going to be going over Further Confusion 2015 in San Jose, California, StocktonCon 2015 in Stockton, California, and of course the furry fandom and where it has gone in my point of view. Of course, my point of view isn't like the point of view everyone should follow. I mean, everyone has their own opinion. And if you want to leave questions for me, I'll be doing a Q&A segment a little towards the end of a future podcast, because this is the inaugural podcast and not gonna have a Q&A segment towards the end of this podcast. So you're probably wondering, what's with the screen and the changing wallpapers? Well, every character that shows up on the monitor is created by their character owner. Like on the screen right now is Nice the Singing Dog. He was created by Kyle McCarthy of, I believe, Pennsylvania, and he owns the character. And basically, they're just walking pieces of art. Walking, living, breathing pieces of art. You're gonna see like furry art and fursuits rotate in and out of the screen. So you're gonna probably get used to it within a few podcasts. And for Further Confusion 2015, at first I was like, oh shit, I need to go to this because I want to start going to furry conventions. And of course that was like in December of 2014 when I was like getting all hype. And of course I first tried to pay the registration fee, which at the time was $50 US. But if I were to pay now, it'd be $60 US. And I just don't have the money or the time for a furry convention right now. But it is, Further Confusion is in San Jose, California, home of the San Jose Sharks of the NHL, and it is going to be their 15th year as a furry convention. A reason why I wanted to go is that I figured my fursuit maker was going to be there. Excuse my voice, I have a little cough right now that I'm trying to get rid of. But anyway, I figured like, since my fursuit maker is gonna be there, I'm gonna get like a sneak peek of my fursuit, like in person. I'm gonna get like a partial preview, because she told me through notes on FA that she's gonna have the head and hands ready along with my tail, which is still completed at the time. And she was gonna let me fursuit as a partial fursuiter. And I thought, oh, cool. I'll just try and get a feel for fursuiting at further confusion. But then when it came down to it, I figured, like, I'll need to have money for transportation and money for a hotel stay, which I didn't have settled before I stupidly sent in my payment for $50 for a Further Confusion membership for their 15th year. So I realized, like, oh shit, if I go through with this Further Confusion trip, then I won't have a bus pass for when mid-February comes up. And I have to drop my classes, all my classes with a W, and drop out of college. So I go onto PayPal and I go through my summary and I see my cleared payment to Further Confusion, the Anthropomorphic Arts and Entertainment Incorporated, which is what it says on the summary when you pay through PayPal, that I opened that transaction, and right on the bottom of every transaction page on PayPal, it says you have 180 days from the time you paid to dispute the transaction. So I opened a case. I disputed a case with Further Confusion, and I don't remember who I talked to, or I just don't want to say their name, but at first I thought, shit, I'm not gonna get my payment back. So I go onto Facebook and I just post on a Facebook group like, hey, I'm willing to transfer my FC payment on my FC membership to anyone who wants to go for $50, and I will make this open until January 10th, 2015, which is this Saturday. And Kitsu Clover, or Kit Clover, I'm just going to use Kitsu Clover, she comments on my Facebook posts saying that she's interested in going and that she'll pay me the $50 when she gets her money in January. Of course, at the time, it was December 2014 when I made that post. I figured, I'm like, cool. I'll be able to get my money back, and I'll save her like $10 in the process of this whole Further confusion, no pun intended, because I did a slight pause after I said the second part of the convention's name, Further Confusion. So after Kitsu and I agreed that she was going to pay me $50 and that I would transfer my FC membership to her. I figure, like, if she actually pays me the $50, I'd have to tell registration, like, hey, I transferred my membership to Kitsu Clover, so when you start printing the badges, write Kitsu Clover on the badge that you were going to write Hound on, because I need to handle some stuff. And of course, this leads back to the PayPal dispute I opened. At first, they said registration cannot be refunded. Like, oh shit. Of course, I kept on reading, and they said, unless you have a... Basically, this is like a paraphrase of what they said. In email and through PayPal. Well, through the PayPal dispute case that I opened. They said, like, in, like, paraphrase, like, summary, if you have, like, a valid, reasonable excuse as to why we should refund your registration, then we'll refund your registration and give you the full $50 back. So I told him, like, hey, I'm a college student, I need the money to get transportation to and from my college, and I don't have a car at this time, I really need the money for school. And then, like, I believe, like, last week, I get an email from PayPal and, like, hey, your dispute case is now closed. I log into my PayPal and I check, like, apparently my reason for college, for schooling, was valid enough for them to give me back my $50. And of course, it also brought me, like, negativity as well, because I was like, oh shit, I have to tell Kitsu now that I got my money back and my FC membership was fully refunded. So I told her she didn't mind paying like $60 for the convention registration fee, and everything's been fine since. Now I'm trying to go to Further Confusion 2016. I just need to have like about $600 or maybe $1,000, depending on the hotel I choose to stay in. I mean, if I stay at the Marriott or the Hilton for 5 days, 4 nights, I figure each night is going to be about $120 to $125 per night at the Marriott or the Hilton. Multiply that by 4 nights. That is $480 to $500 just for a hotel stay. And for transportation, I can easily know that I can take an Amtrak bus from Stockton, California to San Jose, California, on a round trip for $44. So right there, we're at a total of $522 to $544. So we're nearing $550. And I figure I might as well have like $50 for public transportation and food. I figure like, let's say $25 for public transportation and $25 for food. That's gonna round up. That's gonna be like $600. Of course, this is just an estimation. Of course, what's $50? That's gonna be, I believe, yeah, we're looking at $572 to $600. Why did I say 60? So that's why I'm roughly estimating like $600 for further confusion 2016 or a future further confusion. And this is, well, a convention I want to go to, but I don't have my fursuit yet. So I believe once I make enough money, and believe me, YouTube is not looking good right now on income, I will go to further confusion and I will meet up with some of my local furries like Rat Kebab, Ace, Osiris, JC, Fluffy Tail, Kida Skunk, just to name a few, and of course Griffin Hart, H-A-R-T, just to name a few, at the San Jose Convention Center in San Jose, California. And of course, while I was thinking, I was looking at the 2014-2015 Shark schedule, and I looked to see that there are 3 Sharks home games during FC. One on day 1, one on day 3, and one on day 5. And of course, speaking about conventions, Stockton Con 2015 is coming up August 8th and 9th, 2015 at the Stockton Arena, which is home of the 2012-2013 ECHL Western Conference champions, the Stockton Thunder, and home to other events. And I've been going to Stockton Con since the start. Well, since the inaugural convention in 2012. I believe 1 year I was a Ninja Turtle. 1 year I was Bumblebee. And I believe like last year I was Bumblebee, but I wanted to put my own personalization on the character, so I figure like why not put a red adult size kitty tail that I ordered from Postar through Amazon, like make it like a cat bumblebee, because I figured there's gonna be at least one bumblebee at the convention, so I wanted to put my own personal taste on the character by adding on a red, I believe 32-inch kitty tail that I ordered from Postar through their Amazon store. And that story I will get to in another time, maybe in a future podcast. And the idea of the costume was to purposely leave the zipper where the tailbone is at on the human body, like open, so that the red 32-inch kitty tail hangs like down and out, like swinging like left or right whenever I walk. And I figure, sure, this might be the one that I win the costume contest with. Well, I entered the first costume contest, I entered the second costume contest, and I've entered the third costume contest, and I have not won those costume contests. So I figure, like, what costume is gonna get me at least third place in the costume contest for next year's Stockton Con? I figured, why not make a fursuit? Like, of course, I was thinking, like, what costume should I wear? And then I lost track of that for a while, and then comes January 21st, 2014, I became a furry on that night. I was like sleeping in my bed, and first thing that pops into my mind is like a blue and white fur wolf. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And of course, it had green eyes, which was also perfect, but it's also the, like, one of the regularly used eye colors. And as you see in the visuals of this podcast, whenever my persona photo comes up, that's the exact same design that popped into my head when I was sleeping in my bed on the night of January 21st, 2014. See, my character is right here, wearing the teal jersey with the number 14 on it. Of course, the image that came into my head, I mean, he didn't have a Sharks jersey on. And I don't mind if I don't have the jersey on when I'm fursuiting in the future. I mean, I'm not gonna use my character just as a costume to wear in the costume contest at Stockton Con in August. I'm actually going to fursuit outside of Stockton Con. I'm actually planning a inaugural fursuit outing experience at my local PetSmart in Trinity Parkway in Stockton, California. And I'm thinking, like, maybe take the bus over there and go in like early afternoon, like 12 or 1 or 2, maybe 3. And I would need to have like a handler as well. So, and of course, I'm also planning to fursuit when my niece has her 2nd birthday on June 22nd, and when my nephew has his 7th birthday on October 10th. Of course, by those 2 days, June 22nd and October 10th, I'll have my fursuit by then, a full fursuit. And I'm also planning to go fursuiting for local events at a rate of $20 to $25 an hour. I might lower it to $15 an hour. And I'm also planning to fursuit at the Stockton Thunder hockey games, the Stockton Ports baseball games, and if I get lucky, the San Jose Sharks games, where I can hang around with San Jose Sharky at the Sharks games. And that's just the start of my fursuiting experience. And my opinion on the furry fandom is that, one, it should not be referenced based on the sexual aspect. That non-furries assume when they hear the word furry. I mean, I was at a bus stop one day in 2014. I had my LED name badge on at the time. I flick it on and my name scrolls around, and the gentleman who made me uncomfortable said, "What's a flash hound?" So I started explaining the furry fandom to him, and he just totally ignores me, goes on his phone, and this next part is explicit language, so if you don't like the following language I'm about to use, you need to mute this part now, or just go to somewhere else on the web. Of course, this is just a warning. The guy goes on his phone and he tells XYZ about me explaining, well, telling him about anthropomorphics and stuff, and I was like, excuse me, motherfucker, you asked me what is a flash hound, and I'm trying to explain to you the furry fandom, and you just blow me off, go on your phone and talk to XYZ? That is so not fucking cool, dude. If you ask me a question and I try to give you an answer to your question, don't fucking ignore me and do something else, like talk on your phone to a friend or someone. And of course, luckily at that time I didn't have my fursuit. Otherwise, my persona's personality, when he gets angry, would come out like that. Of course, that was what I was thinking at the time. Like, are you fucking serious? You ask me what is a flash hound, and I try to answer you and you blow me off? So, my basic view of the furry fandom is that, yes, it's weird, yes, it's something new for me in general, but I kinda love the aspect of the furry fandom. I mean, fursuits in general are walking, talking, living pieces of art that comes out of the human imagination. I mean, Bob might want to be a 6-foot kangaroo, and Joe might want to be a 6-foot dragon, and Betty might want to be a 6-foot tall bunny. I mean, it's a fandom with characters created from the human imagination. And of course, some furries may not want a fursuit to bring their character out. But for me, it feels like I have to turn a character into a fursuit in order to bring that character out. Otherwise, let's say it's like 2020 or 2025, like 5-10 years down the road, I may forget about that character. I mean, I have to admit, in the past, I tried to act like a fictional, copyrighted character. And luckily for me, I was not aware of the furry fandom at the time, and I was acting like a fictional copyrighted character. Because if I had turned that character into a fursuit, I might have gotten in legal trouble at the time. So that's why I became a anthropomorphic wolf with blue and white fur, green eyes, red tongue, and a black nose with black eyebrows, who wears a hockey jersey, a custom hockey jersey. Now, my character on paper or online, he wears a custom San Jose Sharks jersey, but he's not afraid to wear custom jerseys of the other NHL teams. I mean, he's just out there to put smiles on kids' faces and whatnot. But he's just there to have fun. And let's just say, in the fantasy world right now, he is living in a 2-story house with a anthropomorphic fox who has teal and orange fur with purple eyes. Basically, Flash Hound's roommate is a fox with the colors of the San Jose Sharks, teal and orange and white, but he has purple eyes. And I call him Mick Jingles. Both Mick Jingles and Flash Hound live in the San Jose Bay Area. And they switch like month to month on who is with the San Jose Sharks and who's taking care of my grandmother, making sure she's okay and she can do fine, like normal activities. I mean, I have to admit, I sometimes talk to my character as if he was standing there with me. And of course, this was just the most wonderful part of my furry life so far. It was Christmas Eve, this past Christmas Eve, 2014. It was in the morning. We were at home, at my home in Stockton, California. I'm on my laptop, I'm on my Facebook, and my older brother, Turkey, not the actual animal Turkey, his high school nickname was actually Turkey. He looks at my monitor and he asks a question that every non-furry asks. He asks, "Are you a furry?" I was like, oh my god. They just finally found out. So I said, yes, I'm a furry. And the most wonderful thing about that morning is that everybody was downstairs, either in the front room or the living room. they were basically around me at the time. And we were just getting ready to do our usual, go to San Jose to visit Grandma Joy and do our usual thing. And I thought that they would have a different reaction to my answer. And they were pretty much fine with it. And before they found out, I was recording a video message to put on a CD that I was gonna purposely leave on the TV for someone to play. And I also had a handwritten note to go along with the CD. So I go upstairs to my bedroom, and I sat down and I thought about it, like, my family just found out I'm a furry, and I look at the note that I had written out for my personal reveal, and I ripped it up, thinking to myself, I don't need this note anymore. They just found out on their own. And that was just it. So I was thinking that I should tell my grandma that I'm a furry as well, because she might not be around when I go to a Sharks game in the future in fursuit, or go to Further Confusion in the future in fursuit, and it comes to a point where I don't have the money to pay for a hotel room and that I have to stay with my grandma. I mean, if I ask my grandma in advance, like, hey, I'm gonna be in San Jose for 5 days, 4 nights. Would you mind if I keep you company during that time? And I'm sure she would say yes. But I might not get that opportunity in the future when that time comes. So I figure I grab my lanyard, I grab my badges, and I grab my Pico. I put my Pico over my lanyard that hung my badges, and I thought, when we get to my grandma's house, I'll take off my Pico and I'll see how long she takes to notice my badges. And of course, my dad tells me, like, as quietly as possible, not to bring the badges. Of course, when he told me as quietly as possible not to bring the badges, we were already in San Jose at my grandmother's house, getting ready to leave to have Christmas lunch. And I see why he told me not to bring my badges with me to the restaurant, because the restaurant we went to, they freaking load their plates like almost to the brim. So I take off my lanyard that had my badges on it, and I leave my pea coat. I took my pea coat with me. I left my badges. I think I put them in my pocket and my pea coat, or I left them at my grandmother's house in the dining room, because my grandmother's neighborhood is much safer than my neighborhood and my part of Stockton in general. I mean, with my grandmother's neighborhood, you could leave your door unlocked. You could have a screen door and leave your primary door open, and no one will get into your house to steal your shit. And of course, after the Christmas lunch, of course, we always have leftovers to bring home. We get back to my grandmother's house. We open up Christmas presents, and this is when it hit me. When my grandmother handed out the Christmas cards, of course, this is not the most shocking part, but it was really damn funny. The envelopes that had my youngest brother's name and my sister's name on them didn't have the cash in them, when my grandmother intended to have the cash in all the Christmas cards, including the Christmas cards for my niece and for my nephew. And of course, I open up my Christmas card, this envelope. I took the Christmas card out of it. I read the front. I open it up, and inside the Christmas card was $100 US in the form of 5 $20 US bills. At the time, I was like, oh, I'll be able to clear my PayPal debt that I had at the time and go to further confusion. Like, pay for registration for further confusion at $50. Which kind of leads me back to the PayPal dispute that I said earlier in this podcast, which I'm not going to repeat. You just have to bring the seeker back to that part. So 2 days later, on December 26, 2014, I go to my local Safeway. I go to the Coinstar machine, after I go around and get the cash off my gift cards, I deposited the money into my PayPal, and I was like so relieved that I had cleared my PayPal debt. And of course, this is where I'm gonna end this podcast. If you have a question for me for a future Flash Friday podcast, talk to me on Facebook, on Skype, on Affinity, on Twitter. You can message me at facebook.com/flashhound2014. You can Skype me, flashhound14. You can find me on Instagram, instagram.com/flashhound14. But I will not be taking questions through Instagram. I'll be taking questions on Facebook, for Affinity, Twitter, and Skype. For Facebook, just PM me your questions at facebook.com/flashhound2014. As for Skype, just leave me a message. Just search Flashhound14. You'll see my picture and send me a question through there. For Affinity, just search my name, Flashhound, all one word, all lowercase. It's furaffinity.net/user/Flashhound. Send me a question through my shouts or through notes. And for Twitter, tweet me your questions using the hashtag AskFH. Tweet at HoundFlash your question and use the hashtag AskFH on Twitter. Because if you don't use the hashtag AskFH on Twitter for your question, I will not see your question. And before I end this podcast, I am needing to renew my California State Identification Card with the California Department of Motor Vehicles, the DMV. And that is $28, so I need your help with that, and I also need help with paying my bank statement with Wells Fargo. I am needing to pay $121 on my bank statement. So in total, I need to raise $150 to take care of my bank statement and to renew my California State Identification Card with the Department of Motor Vehicles in the state of California. So if you want to help, just send the money through PayPal or through check. Just send a check to my postal address, which I will give you privately, along with my PayPal information. And if you have a question for me in a future podcast, just send me your questions on facebook.com/flashhound2014, twitter.com/houndflash, furaffinity.net/user/flashhound, or Skype. Just talk to me, flashhound14. I'm Flashhound, and this has been Flash Friday.